Welcome back to Mentor Nation, the podcast for entrepreneurs looking for real mentorship, real strategies, and real stories so that you can go out and build your dreams. I'm your host, John Abbas, and it's time for another episode, so buckle your seatbelt and let's go. Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the show. John Abbas here, coming to you from the good old South, Nashville, Tennessee. Also coming to you live with what I believe could be a sinus infection. So if I sound a little bit nasally today, I apologize. On the note of Nashville, if you have not visited, you really need to, because we actually have an awesome city full of fun, music, and for some really weird reason, bachelorette parties. And I have no idea why. But all jokes aside, though, it's just a really beautiful place to visit. So come on out. If you are listening live, we are officially into a new decade, and I am more excited and more committed than ever to having world-class guests talk about really insightful, interesting, and meaningful things. Today's guest is no exception. He's just an incredible person. Marc Demetriou is an author, an entrepreneur, and one of the top mortgage bankers in the country, and has been for 14 years straight. He wrote the book Lessons from My Grandfather, which won many awards nationally because of its practical wisdom on success. His grandfather was a self-made millionaire that instilled success fundamentals into Marc that he used to become a self-made multimillionaire himself. In today's episode, we talk about his book, those principles that Marc has used to become successful, rise to the top, but most importantly, stay there. He stayed there year after year. And, the cool thing is these principles and the things that we talk about today are things that anyone can do. Nothing we talk about is magical or pie in the sky. He shares simple and practical tactics that you can start using today to create more abundance in your own life. I'm super excited to share this interview with you today. And if you enjoy it, please subscribe, leave us a good review, and tell a friend. Now let's bring on Marc. All right, Marc, welcome to the Mentor Nation podcast. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, John. My pleasure.
Absolutely. So, Marc, today I'm excited about this interview first off, but I really want you to talk to the audience about the success principles that you've used to become successful. And not just to become successful, but to get to the top and to stay there. And for the audience that does not know you, and they're going to hear you in the intro, but you're in the top 1% of all mortgage bankers in the country. You have been every year since you started. And that's a long time. And that's really powerful because number one, it's one of the most competitive industries out there and you're dominating. But after reading much of your book, and I appreciate that, by the way, Lessons from Your Grandfather, I realized that none of your success was by luck or accident. Nothing was given to you. You actually have been using real principles to do what you're doing because you have done it over and over again in other industries. And so I want to go into that, but I want to have you start just by sharing a little bit about your story leading up to the book, and then we'll get into the strategies, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So, I appreciate that intro, and thank you very much. Again, it's my honor to be on this show. And, I'm very blessed, and, for 14 years and being a top 1%, it's just, it's a blessing and it's an honor. And I'm going to tell you why that is and why I'm there. As a very humble guy in life, I just will tell you, I'm confident in my abilities because of the habits, rituals, and the effort that I've put in my entire life to be successful. And that's one thing which I'll get into with my grandfather, the principles, even my parents to some degree, these principles that have led me to success as almost a 51-year-old man. I could do it again anytime, anywhere, with any business, any industry, because I know I have what it takes. And I'll tell you what that is. When you have the habits and rituals on a daily routine of success, I'm going to break them down in a second of what they are. You can't fail. I don't care how smart you are, what school you went to. It really comes down to being organized, having habits of putting in the extra effort at all times, killing your clients with service, not cutting corners, having the to-do list, being someone of systems, and basically knowing that you need to follow through. And if people are putting in 100%, you put 110% in. So these are very simple tactics, But when you do the same things over and over again, if it's working, do more of it. If it's not working, stop doing it. Learn what other people in your industry are doing that are successful. Read books, listen to podcasts. There's so much information to make yourself the best you can be. And I'll sum it up with this, because I can talk about this for an hour, but I'm not going to do that. I strive for excellence in anything I do in life. Every aspect of life, whether it's personal, professional, business, parenting, friendship, whatever it is, just strive for excellence. And that's the way I live my life. And if people understand that, that's why there's a top 1% in the world and everything, and then everyone else. A lot of people are lazy. They cut corners. They want it to come easy. There's no silver bullet in any industry. I will tell you right now on this show, there's no silver bullet. If you're handed millions of dollars as a kid, that's great. Still not a silver bullet, because you won't be overly successful in life, because you got to work for it, I believe. But I'm going to stop there and let you answer another question if I gave you some tidbits there to go.
Oh man, these are awesome. So how did you get your start into entrepreneurship? And I guess we can go back to your grandfather. Let me backtrack. At what age did your grandfather start mentoring you?
So when he was 60, he retired, literally a millionaire, after leaving his country at 16, penniless. And I was born around the same time, ironically. So for 37 years, until his passing at 97, he was in my life almost all the time as my best friend, mentor, and grandfather. And I will tell you, through my whole life, and I don't remember exactly what age, but he was just always telling stories, always inspiring, always just being who he was. And again, knowing his story, here's the big piece of it. Knowing his story, and when you know it from the book, but knowing he left his home at 16 years old in Cyprus with nothing, poor, but wanted to get ahead in life and be something in life and make money to send back to his family, that's what drove him his whole entire life. He basically said, I'm going to die trying because I'm not staying here. And he literally could have died trying several times all throughout his life.
Right.
So that to me, the power of my ancestors, my roots, my heritage, to me, meanwhile, the thought of that man doing that to get ahead in life. Who am I to fail in life? Who am I not to succeed? To honor my ancestors, to honor him, and not just that, but just the driving force of knowing that the principles and lessons he taught me of what it takes to be successful for a man that lived during the greatest generation. Like, I had those principles, and that's why I wrote the book, to share with the world, to share my secrets with the world, to share the advantage that I have.
That's awesome. Now, I want to sidetrack for a minute, because you said something really interesting just now, that your grandfather always told you stories. And the reason I want to get your perspective on this is because, I grew up really poor. And, as I got older, I had the opportunity to hang out with a lot of wealthy kids who came from just unbelievably successful families, and they had rich parents. And it seemed like a lot of those kids were just really entitled. They didn't care what their parents did to have success, and I wonder, do you think a lot of that is because the parents never took the time to teach their kids the story behind what they had to go through? I just wonder, what do you think about that?
I think that's so true, because one of the things I wanted to help the world with my book as well is the book's great for the 16 to 45-year-olds to really get it in life. 45 to 60 is still your second career, potentially, or really second chance in life. The 16 up is really truly to understand how to be a mentor. So the book has lots of layers in it for different people. But people have to understand the mentorship as a parent, as a teacher, as a coach, as a consultant, as an employer, as a manager. You have the ability to mentor people with your words, with your actions every day of your life, to make this world a better place, and make your kids, your students, your athletes. It's easy to do by telling stories, teaching them how to do things. Sometimes they don't ask for help or ask how to get better, but maybe you can tell them. So it really comes down to the mentorship of people. And I tell you, if you're fortunate to have a mentor, most people don't know how to tell stories. Most people don't talk about the positive nature of, hey, I did this, this, and this, and I failed here, so maybe don't go this way because I did this, or do this instead. It's really the mindset of taking the time to do those things. And my grandfather did that. He told me a lot of things about, this happened wrong in life, wish I could have changed this, or this is what happened, or beware of phonies, or, be aware of other people and help people along the way. Don't just think about yourself, and don't tell people how much money you have because they don't want to come after you to invest in things. Like, all little tidbits of life stories, but just all these lessons of life just continually. But he was a student of life and knowledge. And that's, listen, he read 3 newspapers a day all through retirement, literally up to like a year before he passed. He would literally cut out articles of anything to do with life or business or family or relationships, anything, stock market, and he would save them for me. When I'd see him, he'd hand them to me. Or if he was in Florida for half the year, he'd mail them to me. He was just doing it to do it because he loved me and wanted to see me get ahead in life. That's powerful.
Man, that's incredible. Just the idea of having a great mentor in your life, because I think so many people, they feel like what holds them back is they don't have a mentor, but they're everywhere and they're always teaching. I mean, everything from podcasts to audios to YouTube videos. And I think, even in person, if you want one bad enough, it's not that difficult to find one if you just absolutely focus on it. But that's really incredible that you did that. So you wrote the book. How long ago did you write the book?
I'd say, well, it came out in 2008, January 2018, it was released. Probably a total of 3 years overall. It just took a long time. Took my time with it. I had a couple consultants along the way while I was writing it, aided and helped me with it. I had a great editor, publisher that we put it together as well. So I really took my time with it because I wanted it to be perfect. I had a vision of how I wanted the book to be. I wanted to have my grandfather's wisdom throughout the book with everything I wrote in there, like his little tidbits, as you saw, with recaps at the end. I wanted to make it a powerful book, not like something else that's out there.
That's right.
Really a lot of takeaways from it, which I think I did. So I really wanted to be perfect.
Yeah, you definitely did. I love the storytelling in there. That's what made your book incredible. One of my mentors a long time ago, he told me, he's like, if you really want to get personal growth and you want to remember it, read biographies of great people instead of just a lot of how-to books. And he set me on a path. I started reading, books from like Theodore Roosevelt and, Carnegie, and it was absolutely amazing. So I really love your book, and for the audience listening, you definitely need to pick it up. It's called Lessons from My Grandfather. But I wanted to see if you could just take a few minutes and share the main principles in the book that helped you rise to the top of everything that you've done.
So I think the principles in general, I'll start with my most favorite one. There's a lot of great principles in there, but attitude is everything. And I could talk about this one for hours by itself, because the power of your attitude from the minute you wake up all throughout the day, how you interact with people, with situations, with things, how you're empowering people, how you take on the rest of the day in life until you go to bed at night, it separates you from the pack. And I'll tell you why it's so powerful. My grandfather was a happy, joyful, gregarious, loving, big-hearted guy. He was only 5'3", but these qualities, and I know this for a fact, is what I always thought of this in my life, is what helped him get ahead in life. Because when he was started out, whether it's shining shoes or washing dishes, whatever he was doing, he got all his opportunities because people would say, Charlie, hey, there's a job over here. Charlie, there's something over here I want you to try and interview for. Or Charlie, come with me to this job. Because he was a great guy. They loved him. So who is not a nice person, didn't have a great attitude, he wouldn't have got far in life. So that simple thing alone, if people realize that, be happy, smile. People have things going on in their personal life all around us. There's tragedies, there's setbacks, there's divorces, there are financial things going on, but that's all life, And if you just can go through life trying to make the best of situations, try and enjoy every day, be happy, inspire people, inspire yourself, have faith in yourself, have faith in things will be okay, like kind of live that life. Like things work out, and you got to put a lot of time, effort, dedication, sacrifice, all those words, of course, but just that attitude is everything part is very powerful, and it's addicting, and people want to be around positive people. It's a fact.
Absolutely. Now, do you have a practical strategy for attitude? Obviously, it's very easy when things are going okay or even mediocre, but, what about if you're talking to somebody right now in the audience whose world is just falling apart? Maybe they're going through something, a death or a divorce or just something detrimental. Obviously, you've been through these things. So, what strategy do you use to just pick yourself back up quickly and shape your attitude, even when it's really difficult?
So that's a good point, and thank you for asking that, because this is an area where it helps a lot of people. So as simple as it sounds, or as hard as it may sound to do, you have to just take a deep breath and literally look at the situation at hand. And if it's a death or a tragedy, obviously those are just, unfortunately, there's nothing else that can heal that but time. And thank God the human beings that we are, time does heal. It's a fact. But I think with everything in life, whether it's divorce or financial setback or a bad investment or whatever it is, these things can ruin your life. And if you allow the past to determine your future and never get it out of your mind, it'll destroy you. So all I can tell people is when things happen, in the scope of how they're happening, you have to, I don't want to say deal with it, it's not the right way to see that, but look at the situation and write out a plan of attack or plan of action to get through the situation. And I will tell you, whether it's a divorce and here's the next step. It's almost like everything should be like a business transaction. I don't mean it in a bad way, but look at everything that's happening and figure out on paper what needs to get done to get out of what your situation is. And I've told people this with many business plans for their life. If they're not happy with their life, I tell them to take each aspect of their life, whether it's their family, as you're parenting to your children, your business partners, your social environment, your church, or wherever you worship. Take a look, you break your life down to pieces and you make mini business plans on how you can improve each area. This is about improving life in general. And you'd be surprised how many changes you can make to improve your life. We have a blessing on this earth to be as happy as we could be and live a good life, but there's things that can detract or set us back from doing that. So I think the simplest way to get out of a rut is to think about it on paper, clear your mind, and say, what do I need to do to get out of this rut? What do I need to do to get past the situation? That's kind of the only way to do it. Because if people just complain about it, it's horrible. And no matter how bad the tragedy is, and I'm not downplaying it at all because everything's tragic and everything's horrible in its own right, but it's the only way to get through it. It's all about mindset. And I'll use that word to wrap this up. It's about the mindset. Your mind's a very powerful tool. Positive things in, positive things out. Negative things in, negative things out. You can spoil your life and your brain just by being negative all the time. When things happen that are tragic or setbacks or situations are unexpected, you got to figure out. It's almost like, okay, what am I going to do to deal with this? The support of friends or family, of course, are very important to help you through it. You need to have that as well, or a counselor or a priest or someone of that nature. But this is long-winded, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. Really, Absolutely. You need to look at it in the scope of how it is with a sane mind or with assistance and figure out how to get through it.
Absolutely. Man, it's such great advice. Now, I'm interested in your opinion on how to do this because you talk about it a lot. I read it a lot, and it's something that I truly believe in, that, you are and always will be a product of who you're spending most of your time with. Basically a proverb now that you are the 5 people you spend most of your time with. But for someone listening that maybe they don't have a great network, because you are really great at networking and that's very evident. Let's say that you grew up in an extremely poor family. You have no contacts that are successful or building something. What are some of the things that you would do to start moving yourself and start surrounding yourself with people that are really making things happen?
I love this question because when I tell you how easy it is, you're going to be shocked yourself as well in general and your listeners. So no matter what your situation is, if you're born into money or not, or, very poor area or very poor income family or just regular people or wealthy people, it's all different levels, right? So I always say, how you're born in this world doesn't define you or how you're going to be out of this world or where you're going to be taken out. You can set your own path in life. And the ones that are lower income have to struggle harder or work harder, no doubt about it. But, you look at Oprahs of the world and other people that have started from nothing. Tony Robbins was homeless and poor, and I can go on and on. So what it comes down to is exactly what you said. Connections in life is everything. Your school is important, your education is important, but it's who you know in life. And the second part of it is being a good person. Because you could be connected to people, but if you're not a good person, you're not going to get far. So it's the pure thing is having the connections, but then being likable and sincere and no agendas. Just being a good person. Those two together get you far. Connections and being a good person. So here's the secrets to getting out, no matter what your situation is being brought into this world. Number 1, charities. Anywhere you can donate your time, and as silly as it sounds, whether it's food kitchens, whether it's your church, whether it's local assistance in the area, whether it's helping give food out to poor people for Turkey for Thanksgiving. When you're in any charitable situation or Habitat for Humanity, you're mixing with pretty awesome people. And I'll tell you why. Awesome because they got good hearts. And number 2 is a lot of the people on the boards of all these charities are all very wealthy people that want to give back of their time and their money. So being involved in any of those places, number 1, will help you big time. Not only feel better about yourself, but also get you mixing with the right people. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, all the local chamber of commerces or local town social clubs or things of that nature. So if you're wherever your town is, if you're in business, yes, the chamber of commerces. If you're not in business, there's other social clubs. Sometimes you can get involved in a town. Sometimes it helps some areas of the town, some aspects. So you want to find this if you're out of school. If you're in school, different story. You make friends in school. But if you're out of school, you have to build your connections one person at a time. And what happens is the power of connections. You may connect with someone that's an awesome person, and they have 1,000 people deep that love them to death. So now by hanging out with that person and going to different events with them or getting along with them, you're going to meet their network, and that's the power of connections. So it's simpler than people think. It's meeting one person at a time. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So you want to build your connections. You want to build good people close to you. You want to weed out the bad from the good. And you want to continue to develop. You also want to help people along the way too. The more people you help, the more it helps you as a fact in life. Because the more you give, the more you're helping to connect people. Someone's out of a job, maybe try and connect with the right person. The more good you do, it comes back to you in spades. That's also not that you expect it, but it just happens that way.
I love that. And you're right. I mean, it's very practical. It's very simple. The only thing that it requires is just a little bit of patience and long-term thinking. It's
Yeah.
just such great advice. Now, I want to pivot just a little bit because I want to get really into the way that you think about, and just whether it's your, especially with your DMO, your daily method of operation. So I want to pose a scenario for you. So obviously you are crushing it when it comes to mortgage banking, but I want to pretend for a minute that you had to start all over. You had zero connections, no network, no money whatsoever. Today is your first day on the job as a brand new mortgage banker, and your goal is to be in the top 1% your very first year. I just want to peel into your mind a little bit and see, like, what would you do? You know, I know how you think, but what would be some of the things that you would do on a daily basis so that the audience listening, maybe they can up their game a little bit so that they can have a 1% mentality?
That's a great question, because when I started with these guys here 14 years ago, I was kind of almost in that situation because I came from a different industry. I had to kind of build and start in a way from scratch. Not that I didn't have any money to get help started, but I did build my relationships one day at a time. And so anyone I've trained, what you're asking me is exactly what I've done to train people here, and you're going to love the answer. So this is as simple as it gets. I know a lot of these accounting firms, a lot of these financial planning firms will tell you, make a list of the top 100 people in your life and go after them and sell them insurance and investments, right?
Right.
That's the wrong approach. My mindset is, and what I did here was, I went to the 100 people in my life that knew me well and that would do anything for me or that would try and help me in life if they could, possibly. So I made that list of 100 people, from family, friends, vendors that I work with in the area, whatever it be, to people from the priest down to the local diner I attend all the time. Obviously family mixed in. And I made a list of those people. What I did was, see, in my business, I know that realtors, accountants, attorneys, financial planners, and even insurance agents to some degree are great referral sources for my business. So I wasn't going after clients right away. I was going after referral sources. So I made a list of the top 100 people in my life that care for me. And I went to each of them and I said, hey, listen, I'm in the mortgage business now. You know me for years. I want to know if you could do me a favor. I'm trying to build my database of referral sources because I know I'm an expert at what I do and I'm doing this business, but I've learned a lot already in life, and I'm going to move forward and help people in this space with my knowledge in the financial world for the last 20 years. So I was already a financial person to some degree. Right. So I said, I need to have you help me. If you could give me, one accountant, one attorney, one financial planner, one realtor, one insurance agent that you know, only one that you know well, and just email them and introduce them to me, and I'll take it from there. And they're like, oh, sure. Well, my accountant, my attorney, my financial planner, the realtor that sold our house, and my insurance agent. So they would email them and say, hey, Marc's my nephew. He's a great guy. He's been in finances for a long time. He wants to try and help people in the mortgage business now. I'd be appreciative if you take a meeting with him. And guess what? Almost all of them did. And guess what I did? I went into the meeting. I sold myself, my professionalism, my expertise, my confidence, my goodness of why I wanted to help them and their clients, and said I wanted to be a resource to them and their clients. And I wasn't begging for that. I was proud to be there saying, here's my card. I'm willing to help your clients and help you. So, and that's how I started my business. And I was top 1% after the first year and 14 years in a row. So how does that sound for simplicity?
Man, it's so simple. And I want to reiterate this because it's crazy to me right now how many people are getting into these industries, insurance and real estate and mortgages, and they're so scared to death to tap into their network and build relationships. What they're spending all of their time doing is, how can I generate all of these random leads on the internet? How can I build a funnel? How can I, write really good copy? And I just think they're missing the point. And for those listening, it's just, this is such great validation that relationships trump everything. Networking is not that difficult. Thank you so much for sharing that, by the way, because that's music to my ears.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have your DMO down. So I want to just talk a little bit about some of the other lessons in your book, but I wanted to see if you could just share one or two really powerful stories from your book, because I feel like everything that you are and everything that you've built came from your grandfather, but the audience doesn't really know your grandfather. Can you just share a little bit about him, or just really any interesting stories that have a powerful lesson?
Yeah, so I think with him, it really came down to the fortitude to have faith in himself that things would work out well and he would get through it all. But you're talking about somebody that really felt that he had an angel on his shoulder in a way, because he really knew that he would get ahead in life. And this isn't just the simple story, but I'm talking about him in general. But, really, I think the most inspiring part is he kind of laid out a plan. Like, even from 16 years old, like he didn't tell his parents he was leaving, because he wouldn't have the fortitude to tell them, or the ability to tell them at night, that he was going to leave the next day. He left in the middle of the night, and his dad found out to the villagers and came to the dock to say, son, it's a small village. I know you're leaving, and I'm not going to stop you. I understand why you wanted to do this for a long time, and we've talked about it, and I'm not going to stop you. And he gave him a couple coins he had, and gave him a hug and said, I wish you well, and you have my heart. I'll let your mother know you left in the morning. Like, that to me, the most profound thing ever in my life is to hear that. And just, I can visualize that in my head on that dock before he got on the boat. And here's the part about it. He had a plan. This is the thing. He mapped out a plan. He knew he wanted to get a free ride to Greece. So he worked it out with a merchant shipper to feed the animals to get a free ride to Greece. He knew from Greece he had to get to London, save enough money to get to London, to get a ship from London to America that was the most direct route. So he worked for a lawyer to save money there, then got a ride to London, worked there as a telegraph operator, went to school for that, saved money to go to school for that, and then came to America in 1929, basically 3 weeks after the stock market crash, which is the worst time in the world to come here.
Wow.
So I'm just talking about that part of life, even that beginning journey. Like, he never gave up. He knew what he had to do. And here's the most profound thing I can tell you and lesson from this man about anything you're doing in life career-wise. When he was polishing shoes, right, or washing dishes, he told me, Mark, I did it with such honor. I did it to the best of my ability, and I made my bosses proud, and I made myself proud because I had honor in working, the dignity of working and making money. And I knew that was a stepping stone in life, and I wasn't going to be stuck there forever. I knew I'd do a good job where I was, and I'd move ahead and do a good job in the next place and move ahead. I was on a mission. Nothing was going to hold me back, but I knew I had to excel in anything I did to get noticed and get ahead. And that's what he did. And that's my simple lesson to the world, because most people are lazy, unfortunately, not to just categorize in general, but most people don't want to put the extra effort, I should say. If there's 100 people starting the job on the same day, with the same background, the same education, and same money from the parents, and same everything, whoever's going to excel is going to be the person who puts the effort in, right? Put the time and effort, but that cares and wants to get the job done right, and with an extra effort on top of it. So, simple lesson, but most profound thing probably that I've ever learned from is that work ethic and that excellence. And that's what propelled him in life.
That's awesome. Now, I have a few random rapid fire questions that I wanted for the last few minutes of our interview, because this has been so good so far. One of the other things that stuck out to me when I was reading through is just, creating a balanced life. I feel like a lot of even really successful entrepreneurs miss that. They have great careers at the expense of, horrible relationships at home, or their health is terrible. I mean, you're in your early 50s, you look great. You are killing it. You have a great family life. Can you just share just a few things on the road to building success, how you've been able to create or maintain some sort of a balance in your life?
That's a very good point. And I think a lot of this country, unfortunately, we live to work. And, I'm Greek, my background's Greek, and in Italy and so a lot of these other countries, they live to live, we live to work. There's a big difference, very big difference. And this country is about money and social status and luxuries. And, when you're rooted, like myself and my grandfather, really what he taught me. My grandfather taught me, you want to live below your means so you'll never struggle and you'll never be stressed. Because if you make, $200,000 a year and you're spending $200,000, there's shame on you. If you make 200 and spend 100, that's great. So he was always about living below your means, never chasing anybody, live your own dream, work your own path. Don't get caught up with anybody else's life and their plans and what they're doing. Just be who you are, be proud of other people, be respectful of the people, be appreciative of their efforts, what they do, but make your own path in life. So I think what happens is, I think most people, I think this is the biggest problem. They get sucked into this whole situation about life in general. They have to decide what's important to them. So like, if you're going to be a father and a business owner, and a husband or wife for that matter, you have to decide on the timeout elements. I mean, life is all scheduled. So if you're working, then work hard, but make time for your family and your spouse. Make time for your friends. So if you want to just work to work, then just be single, never get married, don't have any friends, work and just work until you're dead. But I think there's a balance in life that you have to be able to map it out. And I suggest everybody you have to work off a calendar. So with your family, with your spouse, with your friends, everything's on my calendar. I live my life by my calendar. So you got to plan things out. Nothing is done if you don't plan. I plan vacations. I plan time for things so I can just tell you, I work a lot of hours. I wish I didn't have to sleep because I'd use those hours too. Believe me, I would. But my whole life's mapped out, and I know what I'm doing. At my list and my agenda. So I just urge people that are listening, especially a lot of professionals, a lot of lawyers work really hard and counts at certain times of the year. But, you can't let this life slip you by because you wanted to work so hard to make money and sacrifice everything else around you. So I think you need to figure out who you are, live below your means, Don't chase anybody else's dream. Don't chase somebody else's luxury and what they have, what they don't have. Live your life yourself. Be happy. Be appreciative of your family and your spouse and your kids and your friends, and wake up every day and be grateful and have gratitude for life, your health, and goodness. Be someone that is more in gratitude, more appreciative of what you have and where you are in life. And the opportunities are boundless in this country because we have so much knowledge, like you said earlier, in books and podcasts and information. You could read the top 100 most successful people in the world. There's books in every one of them, and absorb their books. You should be reading and learning instead of trying to create things from scratch. So this is kind of long-winded, but you can create the life you want. You can be the person you want to be in life. You know, if you want to be an astronaut, then go for it. If you want to be the president of the United States, it takes a lot of work. Go for it. But everything takes work and effort. There's no shortcuts.
Absolutely. And I think really you hit the nail on the head when you said schedule it, because I think a lot of people don't do that. You know, they schedule their work and then they give everything else just whatever time is left over. And a lot of times there's nothing left over. And so living and dying by your calendar, I think that's such a phenomenal philosophy. So that definitely answers that question. My next question is what do you invest in? Obviously, you have a great business that you're building. Do you have or do you focus on any kind of investments outside of that?
I mean, I've been one more so just in the stock market. And my grandfather's a big thing too. My grandfather, the reason he retired at 60 is because over the years, you know, through the knowledge he had and people around him, he invested enough money in the stock market for 30, 40, 50 years that when he hit 60, he had enough money to live off the dividends. And that's why he stopped working. He realized he could live the life he wanted to just with the dividends alone. Back then, dividends were much higher, 8, 9, 10, 11% sometimes. So, you know, he was teaching me from high school how to invest in the stock market. You know, I made some big mistakes like everybody else in 2000 and, 2008 and, all these different bumps. You know, I think honestly, the strategy I would tell people is the mutual fund is the best way to go. It's the safest way to go. You could play with a little bit of money with the high flyers, but, some of the secure, the big companies, obviously that are top rated, you could play around with those. But I say that the market in general, even though I'm in the real estate business, believe it or not, I haven't invested heavily in real estate. I haven't had a lot of time and found the right people to get involved with. But I think if you just the old staples of investing wisely in the stock market, you get some good mutual funds because they go up and down all the time, but the market crashes, they always come back, and that's the safest way to play. Stocks crash, they don't come back sometimes. So I think that's a safe advice for the world is stick with mutual funds, do dollar cost averaging every month, put money in, no matter the market's up or down, just keep putting money in. And I think, if you can get into real estate, but be smart about it. Don't chase these buys and flips right now and don't chase the dream and nothing that's too good to be true. It's probably not true. So it's just hard work and, and effort and everything. Again, I'm going to tell you this, everything takes effort and time and sacrifice in life. It does. Believe me, it does. This is my third career I'm in right now, third business career move, and everything's worked out well. And it's been a lot of time and effort. And that's the only way to get things done. And that's the only advice I can give people is you got to plan your day. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time on things. If you want to be successful, then you spend a lot of time being successful as opposed to doing other things. You're saying?
Absolutely. Now, do you have a morning routine? Obviously, you plan everything. Like, do you have anything particularly that you do in the morning right when you wake up?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do. I make my bed every morning, which is something you should do to start your day. And there's a I forget the guy's name. There's a guy from the Naval Academy that has a book called, I think it's called Make Your Bed.
Make Your Bed.
Yep. The rituals are just starting with that. These little tasks all day long, which is what's an accomplishment. It's all about accomplishing tasks. I try to go to the gym every morning. I should say 6 days a week. I try to go to the gym in the morning, usually between 6 and 7. And every single morning I do about 10 minutes of stomach crunches and stretches and 100 push-ups every day.
Wow. 100 push-ups.
Yeah, that's my thing. I don't do it all at once. I usually do 20 to 50 at a clip, depending on how I feel in the morning. But I set that out years ago. I said, I want to do 100 push-ups every morning from now. Why not? It'll help me get in shape and help me start my morning off right. And like about 5-8 years ago, I think about 6-7 years ago, I started that. Sorry. So that's one thing. And then from there, really, just the morning routine. I mean, I got my routine when I get in the office of how I do things. I work off a lot of lists of things I want to attack. So I'm a very big list person, and everything in my life is always in my phone. Even if I think of something, something pops in my head. Working out, by the way, or meditating, or both, are fantastic for clearing your head, and things come to you. Things come to me when I work out. Things pop in my head. I put a little note on my phone. I'm constantly thinking of things. I put it down on my phone, and that's it. I just go about my day. But I have a lot of lists and things I want to attack as far as running my life, running my business.
That's also, it's weird for me. Where all of my ideas come from is when I'm like blasting music and driving.
Oh, that's great. It works for you.
Yeah, it's like my form of meditation. So lastly, I just want to ask, is there anything that you may have not said yet that you want to leave the audience with that maybe could add value to their day or to their week? I just want to see if there's anything else that you want to add to anything that you've already covered today.
I will mention one quote that my grandfather, it's in my book, and you probably read it too, so this is pretty powerful. It's more of a principle than a quote, but it is from my grandfather's mouth to my ears. But be awake and alive to the suffering of others. It's a very profound statement. And what he meant by that, and he explained to me many times, was, whatever's going on in your life, there's always people around you that are having difficult times or something going on in their life. And they may not be sharing with you, or maybe they need a friend or need someone to talk to. Just be aware of people in life. And whether it's smiling at someone in the elevator or, being nice to people, holding a door, how you live your life that way. But people around you, that people are always having things go on and difficulties, but be there for people, be a friend, be there to help people in their time of need. Don't always be consumed with yourself. And, life will be a much more joyful life for you. People you impact and people you touch in this world. And if you're a good person and your agenda is not one of anything other than goodness, then you'll have the best blessed life that you can have. And when you go through life, on the second point of that is that realize who you are and what you want in life, and realize what's important to you. And when you decide that for yourself, then let everything else fit in place accordingly. And don't worry about what's going on around you and whatever else has, like I mentioned before. These are just two different profound statements that have stayed and stayed with me in a big way.
Great advice. So for the audience listening, how can people connect with you? Where can they get your awesome book? By the way, guys, this book has won a ton of awards. It's been recognized by some very big publications. I highly recommend that you grab the book today, Lessons from My Grandfather. But I want to see, what social media platforms are you most active on? Where can people get your book and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. So the book, Lessons from My Grandfather, Wisdom for Success in Business and Life, is on Amazon. It's on hardcover, softcover, ebook, and audio. So lots of options on there. It's on a lot of online sites, but that's the easiest place to pick it up. They can find me. My website is, everything's the same, Marc Demetriou. It's M-A-R-C. Last name is Demetriou, D-E-M-E-T-R-I-O-U, marcdemetriou.com. That's my website. I have Grandfather Lessons is the name of the book website. There's a free chapter on there and some more information about the book and all the great endorsements. And I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all under the same thing, Marc Demetriou, M-A-R-C-D-E-M-E-T-R-I-O-U. And that's the easiest way to get me. But if people want to ping me, want to read my book and ask me some questions, I promise you will change your life for the better. So I wrote it to give my grandfather back to the world, and hopefully you'll enjoy his mentorship.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for putting that book out there. And thank you so much for this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure. You have given everybody just a lot of things to think about, definitely some things that they can implement right away. And now they have, kind of a resource to be able to do that through your book. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, John. It was an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I personally thought it was short, sweet, and extremely practical. And it's crazy because one of the things that I have realized after interviewing almost 20 highly successful guests on this podcast so far is that it's really the simple daily choices, habits, and routines that separate the most successful people from everyone else. Most people are looking for some magical secret, or they think you have to have a big network or magical ability or skill. But really, for the most successful people, it's the small, simple daily disciplines practiced consistently with a long-term vision over a period of time that lead to the most massive amounts of success. And Marc is living proof that success principles work and they can work for everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you want a deeper dive into these principles that Marc talked about, definitely roll on over to Amazon, grab his book, Lessons from My Grandfather. If you are listening live, I'm so excited for the lineup of guests that I have and that I am pursuing for 2020. And if you have a particular guest or a topic that you would love to learn about, guys, just follow us on Instagram at Mentor Nation Podcast and shoot me a message. I would love to hear from you. I'm really focused over the next several months on things that are highly interesting that people would really love to learn, and now is the best time to give me feedback. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in this week. We have a really awesome episode next week, and we'll see you then.